Beverly Carridice-Henry is a CCF family member whose grandson, Emmanuel Lechman, a very caring and compassionate young man who unfortunately suffers from mental illness. He was caught in a sting operation, a terrorism sting operation, even though he wasn't a terrorist, and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Beverly, it's good to have you with us. Can you first talk about who Emmanuel is, what he's like, and describe your relationship with him? I know you're very close to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Emmanuel is my grandson. I raised him because his mom died when he was 2 years old. So I raised him until he was 12. Then he went to live with his other grandmother because he wanted to know that side of family in Rochester, New York. So when he got there, before he went there, he was diagnosed with mental issues. So he had mental issues from before. And he was having issues, so he wound up getting into some trouble, wound up in jail for about 3 times. And when he came out the last time, he got married and he had a son. So he was also having marital issues also. So he was in and out, the wife would put him out, he would be in the street. So he was living in the street, sleeping in the park, having all kinds of issues going on. So the last time, after he came out, he came down here to Florida to spend some time with me because he called me his mom. I'm his mom because I raised him. And while he was here, he went back. He decided he was going back up to Rochester. He got to Rochester and he was there, going through the issues with his wife, sleeping in the streets in the park, like a vagrant. And because of he was in and out of prison, the last time he came out, he called me and he told me, he said, "Mom, the FBI is looking for me." They went to his grandmother's house looking for him. That was 2015. So I was like, why were they looking for you? He said he didn't know, but he was going to go down there to find out, what was going on. So he called me after I went there. He called me. He said, "Mom, they wanted him to become an informant because he now became a Muslim. So they want him to become an informant." And he told them no. Maybe about 2 months later, he called me. He said, "Mom, I met these 3 friends. They coming from different states, and they're going to teach him how to make T-shirts." And they became his friend. So I'm like, "Emmanuel, you make friends too easily. Do you know these people?" He said, "They're my friends, they're Muslims." And that went on for maybe a month. But, he's saying these guys are his friends and they were always around him, And the next thing I knew, I get a phone call in December. That was on Christmas Eve, that he was arrested. Now, this informant, they said that he planned to go into this nightclub, and he went to Walmart. He bought zip tie and a knife. So he was going to use zip ties and a knife to go into a nightclub by himself to attack these people in the club. So I mean, I was devastated because I never knew of him, you know, being in any trouble like that, being a terrorist or anything. Because even though he had mental issues, he's a very humble kid, loving, you know, he's sweet,
He
you
is.
know, and I couldn't believe it. So I was devastated. You know, I'm still devastated about the whole thing. But anyway, to come to find out, he did not purchase the zip tie. He did not purchase the knife at Walmart. The informants did. They found all this, whatever they said that he have was in their car. They didn't find anything at his house. They didn't find anything on him. And then they arrest him and then they charge him for terrorism.
Yeah.
And, you know, going through the courts, he didn't go to trial because the lawyer he had keep telling him to plead guilty, because if he didn't plead guilty, he could get 60 years. If he plead guilty, he would get 10 years. So when he went to court, they gave him 20 years and lifetime parole.
Mm.
So right now, you know, this was 2015, and he went to, they had him into the state prison in Pennsylvania, and they really abused him before they finally moved him to another prison. Now, at this point, he have a blood disorder, which is hereditary, called HHT. He needs to get iron infusion because the iron pill, we cannot absorb it because I have it. And I have to be on a cancer drug to help to control the bleeding. And he's not getting the medical attention that he needs in there. So right now, I haven't spoke to him in about 3 months because they took away all his privileges. And they gave him back 100 hours and phone calls. And it's been 3 months almost since I heard from him. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he's okay. I don't know.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. They
he tried to exhaust everything, you know, every way, and everything he tried, they just lost, you know.
Yeah, we tried to help get involved with his appeal at one point, but it didn't work out. I'm so sorry about this. I know I talked to him, I think, more recently than you did. He's reading a lot of books that people are sending him. We're trying to keep him thinking positively, but it is definitely hard for him. It's so sad when people with mental illness are targeted in these sting operations too. They
didn't even bring that up in the court.
No,
the judge,
because it's not really considered a defense
in the courts.
Just seems so unfair. And there's a lot of cases where people were asked to be an informant first, and when they say no, then they get targeted in these cases too.
And that's what happened, because even his ex-wife told me, she said, well, if he had accepted the job to become an informant, he would have been in jail. I'm like, but he don't want to be an informant, so you can't say that, you know, because he does not believe in that, you know. He didn't want to be an informant. So, you know, if he became an informant, he would be putting innocent people in jail also.